There are moments in human history when technology stops being a tool and becomes a message sent not with words, but with speed, altitude, and silence. The state, Route 71 Blackbird, was one of those moments. It was not merely an aircraft. It was proof that the laws of warfare could be rewritten, that dominance did not always require firepower, and that sometimes the most powerful weapon is the ability to be untouchable. Long before stealth fighters and satellites ruled the skies, there existed a machine so fast, so high, and so uncompromising that no enemy ever truly caught up to it. To sit inside the cockpit of the Blackbird was to experience something that bordered on the spiritual and the terrifying at the same time. The pilots were not simply flying. They were managing a sustained, controlled explosion through the stratosphere. At Mach 3.2, the aircraft was moving so fast that friction alone heated its skin to temperatures exceeding 1,000 degrees Fahrenheit. The titanium fuselage expanded several inches in flight, stretching and reshaping itself under the stress. On the ground, the aircraft leaked fuel constantly, puddles forming beneath its wings. This wasn't negligence or poor craftsmanship, it was necessity. The joints were designed to seal only when the metal expanded at extreme speed and heat. The Blackbird was incomplete until it was airborne. It only became whole when it was doing the very thing it was built to do. Now imagine the mission profile. You are climbing past 85,000 feet, higher than any conventional aircraft can safely operate. You are wearing a full pressure suit, sealed and inflated, your movements slow and deliberate, your breathing assisted, your body isolated from the outside world. Below you, the earth curves away into darkness. The sky is no longer blue, it is black. You are closer to space than to the surface of the planet. And then, suddenly, the calm is shattered. Your radar warning receiver erupts with a shrill, unmistakable scream. Somewhere below, deep inside hostile territory, a surface-to-air missile battery has locked onto you and fired. For most pilots in history, this is the moment fear takes over. Evasive maneuvers, defensive countermeasures, desperate hope. But the state, Route 71, was never designed to fight. It was designed to ignore. The response was simple, almost dismissive. You advanced the throttles. The aircraft accelerated. You did not outrun the missile by chance. You outran it by design. By the time the missile reached the point where it believed you were, the Blackbird was already tens of miles away, ripping through the upper atmosphere, leaving nothing behind but a fading sonic boom and empty sky. This was the philosophy behind the Blackbird. Speed is life. Every component, every system, every compromise served that singular idea. The engines were not ordinary jet engines. They were hybrid machines that transformed during flight, shifting from turbojets into ramjet-like systems as speed increased. Shock cones at the engine inlets moved with microscopic precision, managing airflow so violent it could tear an aircraft apart if mishandled. Flying the state Route 71 was not about stick and rudder skill alone. It was about systems management, anticipation, and discipline. A mistake at Mach 3 was not survivable. There were no second chances. And yet, despite its fragility on the ground and its unforgiving nature, the state Route 71 proved itself invincible in the air. Over its operational lifetime, more than 4,000 missiles were launched at it by hostile nations. Soviet systems, Chinese systems, advanced interceptors designed specifically to kill it. None succeeded. Not once. No missile ever struck a Blackbird. No enemy fighter ever got close enough to fire a decisive shot. The final tally remains unmatched in aviation history. Blackbird, over 4,000 engagements. Enemy, 0. There is a deep irony in the story of the state Route 71. Much of the titanium used to build it came from the Soviet Union itself. At the height of the Cold War, The United States quietly purchased massive quantities of Soviet titanium through shell companies and intermediaries. The very nation the Blackbird was designed to spy on unknowingly supplied the metal that made it possible. It was a ghost built from its adversaries' resources, flying missions that were officially denied, politically inconvenient, and strategically invaluable. Each mission followed a familiar rhythm. The Blackbird would launch, refuel multiple times in midair, because it could not take off with full fuel, then accelerate eastward. Once at speed and altitude, it became something else entirely. It crossed borders faster than governments could react. It photographed missile silos, troop movements, airfields, and nuclear installations with stunning clarity. Enemy radars tracked it, operators shouted warnings, missiles launched, but the outcome was always the same. The Blackbird passed overhead, untouched, unseen by the public, gone before the incident could even be acknowledged. The psychological impact was immense. Entire air defense doctrines were built around stopping American bombers, yet here was an aircraft that rendered those systems obsolete simply by existing. It did not threaten cities. It did not drop bombs. It simply watched, and in watching, it removed uncertainty. It prevented miscalculation. It gave leaders information that stopped wars before they began. Flying the state, Route 71 required an unusual mindset. Pilots described a strange calm once at cruise, a sense that nothing below could reach them. Not arrogance, but clarity. They were not hunting. They were transcending. Still, the aircraft demanded respect. Emergency landings were rare and dangerous. The margin for error was microscopic. Every flight was a calculated risk taken in service of something larger than the crew themselves. Eventually, the world changed. Satellites grew more capable. Politics shifted. The cost of maintaining such a machine became harder to justify. And so, quietly, the Blackbird was retired. No parade. No dramatic farewell. It simply stopped flying. Today, it rests in museums, its black skin dull under artificial lights, yet somehow still radiating motion. Even standing still, it looks fast, dangerous, alive. The State Route 71 remains the fastest air-breathing, manned aircraft ever built. Its records have stood for decades, not because innovation has stalled, but because few nations are willing to pursue such extremes again. It was born from fear, shaped by genius, and sustained by discipline. It proved that sometimes the safest way to survive a dangerous world is not to fight it, but to move beyond its reach. In the history of aviation, there are many remarkable machines. Some are remembered for their battles, others for their beauty, but there is only one Blackbird, a machine that flew at the edge of space, outran every threat, and left behind a legacy not of destruction, but of dominance through speed. In a world obsessed with weapons, the State Route 71 became untouchable by refusing to slow down.